In less than 8 days, Sam Bankman-Fried went from being dubbed the king of crypto to his company declaring bankruptcy and him stepping down as CEO, all in between federal investigations into how he handled the company's finances. Many details of this apparent scam have come out ever since, but we're still awaiting legal proceedings against Sam Bankman-Fried. So today, we'll discuss how the former CEO handled the news and his political donations. Let's dive right in. First up, ex-FTX boss claims he didn't try to commit fraud. The former CEO of the defunct cryptocurrency exchange FTX has denied any wrongdoing. In his first public appearance since the crash, the man dubbed the king of crypto told the New York Times that he had a bad month and had almost no money left. FTX, which was once valued at $32 billion, collapsed last month. Many investors have been unable to withdraw funds from the now defunct global exchange. 30-year-old Sam Bankman-Fried also stated that his lawyers advised him to not speak publicly, but he disregarded their advice. He denied withdrawing any personal funds from FTX, claiming that he now has nearly nothing. Speaking from the Bahamas, he explained that he had only one credit card left with approximately $100,000 in debt on it. In the interview, he stated that he didn't intentionally mislead investors, adding, "I never tried to commit fraud." When asked several times about money movements between FTX and other entities, including the trading firm he owned, Alameda Research, he appeared sketchy in detail. He also claimed that the company had engaged in greenwashing, a practice in which businesses engage in environmental projects for publicity. Bankman-Fried was once regarded as a younger version of legendary U.S. investor Warren Buffett, and his net worth was estimated to be more than $15 billion as recently as late October. With all these confessions coming in, the ex-owner is still refusing to acknowledge him being guilty of fraud and considers this merely another tactic employed to divert public attention and sentiment. Moving on, what really went wrong with the organization? After the massive fall from grace, the cryptocurrency exchange filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection on November 11, 2022. In a matter of days, the company's valuation plummeted from $32 billion to bankruptcy, reducing founder and CEO Sam Bankman-Fried's $16 billion net worth to near zero. The collapse of FTX shook the volatile cryptocurrency market, which lost billions of dollars in value, dropping below $1 trillion. The consequences of FTX's rapid decline and collapse will almost certainly have an impact on cryptocurrencies in the future and may even drag down broader markets. On November 16, 2022, a class action lawsuit was filed in a federal court in Florida, alleging that the former CEO devised a fake cryptocurrency scheme to take advantage of inexperienced investors across the country. Steph Curry, Shaquille O'Neal, Shohei Ohtani, Naomi Osaka, Larry David, and Kevin O'Leary are among the other celebrities named in the lawsuit as having assisted Bankman-Fried with the scheme. The U.S. House Financial Services Committee announced a hearing on the FTX collapse in December 2022. The crisis was triggered by a CoinDesk scoop on November 2nd that revealed Alameda Research, the quant trading firm also run by Bankman-Fried, had a $5 billion position in FTT, the native token of FTX. According to the report, Alameda's investment foundation was also invested in FTT, the token created by its sister company, rather than a fiat currency or another cryptocurrency. Concerns were raised throughout the cryptocurrency industry about Bankman-Fried's company's undisclosed leverage and solvency. Next up, the new CEO and his insight. This chaos was eloquently described in a bankruptcy filing filed on Thursday by John Ray III, who took over as CEO of FTX after Bankman-Fried resigned on November 11th. "I have never seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information as I have witnessed here," he wrote. Remember, this is the man who was sent in to oversee the collapse of Enron after its fraud was exposed. He went on to say that he'd never seen anything like it, from vulnerable system integrity and faulty regulatory oversight abroad to the accumulation of power in the hands of a very small group of inexperienced, unsophisticated, and completely compromised individuals. He also believed that the company was not in the midst of a simple liquidity or insolvency crisis. Bankman-Fried claimed that FTX.com's semi-liquid assets were still worth $5.5 billion, which was a sizable portion of the $8 billion owed to depositors. But here's the thing, Ray valued those assets differently at $659,000. FTX's holdings totaled less than $2.5 billion, including $1 billion in stablecoins, bonds and $483 million in cash. It's safe to say that the mess left behind by SBF will take this new CEO ages to fix, if that ever happens. Now for other notable people part of the FTX network. The larger group is made up of more than 100 affiliated businesses that are all owned by Bankman-Fried and two of his co-founders, Gary Wang and Nishad Singh. Aside from the co-founders, no individual investor owns more than 2% of the equity in any of the group's four main silos: FTX's US crypto exchange, Alameda, its venture capital arm, and its international exchange. Ray's filing details every possible outcome for a multi-billion-dollar organization owned by a trio of inexperienced hedge fund graduates. The Alameda silo received $4 billion in loans to related parties, with $2 billion going to Bankman-Fried's personal company Paperbird, and another $1 billion going to Bankman-Fried himself. The international exchange owed its depositors money but didn't account for it in its financial statements. What's more, the organization didn't maintain centralized control of its cash, didn't keep an accurate list of bank accounts, and didn't even pay attention to its banking partners' creditworthiness. It's only going to get worse. No one, according to Ray, was able to compile a list of FTX employees. He expressed some major concerns about the Bankman-Fried financial statements and stated that they should not be considered reliable. Employees' homes were purchased through the group, and digital assets were managed through an unsecured group email account. Moving on, FTX billionaire funneled dark money to Republicans. The crypto entrepreneur was thought to be a big Democratic donor, but he now admits he gave equally to Republicans. The fall of Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF as he's mostly known, has been portrayed as a major setback for the Democratic Party, whose candidates benefited greatly from his generosity. But in a new interview, SBF claims to have given equally large sums of money to Republicans. He admitted to giving roughly the same amount to both parties. "All of my Republican donations were dark," he said, referring to political contributions that are not made public. SBF explained that he did the transactions under the table to avoid the expected backlash from the liberal media upon learning that he was donating money to the GOP. Bankman-Fried's undisclosed contributions were made possible by the Supreme Court's Citizens United decision in 2010, which allowed donors to give anonymously and resulted in more than $1 billion being poured into federal elections since 2010. The news comes as a political battle in Washington rages over the failure of FTX. Bankman-Fried was also the second largest donor to Democratic politicians during the previous election cycle. Ted Cruz, a Republican senator, described FTX as a Bernie Madoff-style fraud that cost investors billions. The Senate will hold the first of what is expected to be a series of hearings into FTX's demise on Thursday, with Republicans eager to hold Democrats accountable for a lack of oversight prior to the company's demise. Lastly, is SBF looking at jail time in the future? The legal assault on Sam Bankman-Fried has only just begun, but it's already a slugfest. SBF has worked very hard to project a sense of calm in his public statements, tweeting and giving ill-advised press interviews since his firm's demise, despite the fact that government investigations and court proceedings are still in the early stages. Still, it's clear that his future will be unpleasant and dangerous, and that his newfound social outcast status is now the least of his problems. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, which is now allegedly conducting an investigation into SBF and the crumble of FTX, has plenty of evidence to work with and plenty of reasons to go after him as soon as possible and as hard as possible. The revelations following FTX's demise have raised red flags for financial crime investigators. A large sum of money appears to have vanished, with no plausible explanation offered by SBF or anyone else. There are early warning signs of criminal fraud. There is also an indisputable pent-up demand among Washington crypto skeptics and the general public for a major crackdown on an industry riddled with fraud and con artists who have been scamming people all over the world for years. FTX and SBF have already made public several prominent claims on the subject, but investigators will almost certainly uncover more. That being said, we wouldn't be surprised if SBF appeared in an orange jumpsuit in the near future. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think of the FTX scandal? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.